Welcome to the 50th episode of the Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast. Rick, international football is over.
Thank God.
After watching that exciting USA Grenada game, what more, and the USA El Salvador, what more could you want?
What more could you want other than Canada against Honduras last night?
That's right. I didn't watch that game. I think I had to file my nails instead of watching that game. But we love CONCACAF football.
Oh, yeah, don't we?
Yeah, that's a fact. So, Rick, we've had a bit of a break. How have you been?
Good. So, just soaking up everything that's happening at Tottenham right now.
Well, speaking of that, let me play a song for Antonio Conte.
Arrivederci. Yeah.
Goodbye, Antonio. We hardly knew ye.
No kidding, right?
Yeah. So, what do you
tell you? We'll go, man. I think, obviously, the right decision. There were rumors for a little while that he might be staying for those 10 games. And I know I joked about that last week, like kick his ass out there in front of 60,000 people and make him work.
Right.
But obviously greater minds than mine. Look, it was a mess, right? When you look back at it, there were some good things. Can't knock Conte for everything. Look, he had some injury issues. He had some bereavements that got the better of him, like most of us, and he had a pretty bad health issue for a while there. That may still be carrying that right now.
Sure.
All that said and done, though, even for us mere mortals that get up at the crack of dawn and go to a job, we would still have to work for all of that he went through.
Oh, no question. And right? wouldn't have got any more time off than he got.
No. And wouldn't have had the financial wherewithal to fly off to sunnier climes to recuperate and relax and do all those fun things. So the job still had to be done. I know that sounds harsh, but that's reality. And that's why he got canned, because he didn't do it. So Daniel Levy took all those things into account and still said, hey, you're out of here, mate.
Right, but you're still in fourth place.
Oh, my God, Cal.
Can you say he didn't do the job when you're in fourth place? And this is something interesting. So do you know that Antonio Conte is 1/10 of an average point per game away from being Tottenham's best ever manager?
Well, and you know who is the best? You know who is who's got that lead point is Tim Sherwood, right? Even though Tim Sherwood but that doesn't count because he only had 22 games in charge. So his percentages are going to be higher, right? But look, we've got Conte's gone. It's over, right? Time to refocus and move on. Like Belichick said, on to Cincinnati, right? So we got Stellini in place. What are we going to see? Probably more of the same until the end of the season. I don't know, unless they surprise me next on Monday night at Goodison Park. Are we going to see 3-5-2, a 4-2-3-1, whatever? I don't think so. I think we're still going to see 3-4-3, right? Because it would be a wholesale change right now, right?
Well, you're certainly going to see 5-4-1 out of one team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So with Stellini, you know, as I posted on Instagram, are we going to see more of the same? Probably. Um, you know, so now all the rumors are swirling. Who's going to be the next coach? Um, and Tottenham is still going to have a hard time because come summer, there's going to be a lot of openings. And where
Oh,
will
for
Tottenham
sure.
fall on that ladder?
Yeah, for
With
sure.
Real Madrid, possibly PSG, the two Inters, right? Chelsea even maybe, right?
Well, yeah.
So um, the question remains, I've heard bandied around out there, is Tottenham a big enough team? Of course they are. That's just ridiculous. They are a big enough team. I mean, somebody is going to want to come in and be the one that changes everything. That's
Well,
just
I think the first thing that Tottenham need to do is to decide how they're going to go forward. Is Tottenham going to continue to try to bring in ready-made players? Is Tottenham going to continue to try to hang on to third, hang on to fourth, hang on to Champions League spots by their fingernails? Or are they going to look at an older, aging squad and say, now it's time to retool? Now it's time to get what we can get for our older players, spend that money on younger players, and be willing to bite the bullet on the Champions League in order to come back stronger years down the road.
well, I agree. And one key thing that needs to happen here is, and I'm not a Levy knocker. I'm not an Enoch out, Levy out, whatever. Levy's done some great things at this club. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the stadium or the facilities or the revenue streams that come in. We're not relying on any nation states to pay the wages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only reason you can say, we're a big enough club is because of Daniel Levy.
Right. Now, from a strategic standpoint, things need to change. Tottenham are not aligned. You're not aligned when you bring in a coach like Conte or anyone really, but let's say like Conte, and Conte goes out and buys Richarlison. And then suddenly a Jed Spence pops up where he says, that's not my buy. That means you're not
Yeah,
strategically aligned.
that is exactly right.
And that
And
means you're always going to have friction and issues,
that's right.
right? You
That's
can't
right.
run a company like that if the CEO says, this is our vision. Meanwhile, everybody else is saying, oh, we're over here doing this. That's not going to work.
Well, that's right. That's kind of the point I was trying to make is, and it's on Daniel Levy's desk to decide what direction Tottenham Hotspur are going to go in the future.
Yeah, and the other thing is I think when Levy is talking with these potentials, whether that's Enrique, Nagelsmann, De Zerbi, Romani, whoever it is, if these guys are saying things, which they will, well, you may not get into the top four. We won't have Champions League football. I think Levy would be well within his rights to say, hang on a minute and just slow down. Whether we make top four or not shouldn't be an issue for you. This is not a league. This is the Premier League. This is not a league where you're used to beating everybody 6-0 every week,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got 6 or 7 teams that are competing for that fourth spot or that third
Oh,
spot,
for sure.
right?
And it's going to get tougher next year.
So you can sit down with Chelsea, Man U, Arsenal next season, any of them, and say, "Can you guarantee me top 4?" And the answer will probably be, "I don't know."
Right? You
Right?
can't.
Unless you're a Man City, right?
That's right. I mean, you can't. And if Holland gets injured and he's out for 3 months, can Man City?
Right. So these managers are like kids, like footballers, want instant gratification. So Levy would be well within his rights to push back on that a bit and say, hey, look, that may not happen because of that reason. And, you might have to, hate to say this to you, you might have to work a little bit to come in the back door, maybe win the Europa League or something for us to get in there or
Right.
whatever. But right now, you're right. That strategy needs to be And the Tottenham fans, we need to know it. Okay, if we're going to go back to playing good football for what we're known for, which is great, but just remember we might have to spend a season in the wilderness for a while till we get
Well,
it.
my question to you is this conversation actually reversed, where it's Daniel Levy saying, hey, I'm going to pay you a lot of money. You got to get us top four.
Could be. Yeah.
And if it is that really the right direction for the club?
No, I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion.
I'm with you.
I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we don't care about top four ever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's get us into a position where, which we have been doing for the last like 7 or 8 years, finishing in top four, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But let's get us in a position that we're gonna get better than getting knocked out in the round of 16 or whatever it is. You know what I
Well,
mean?
absolutely. And the challenge with the Premier League is to be top four, you almost have to be good enough to win the league.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to play with the man cities, and an injury here or there, or a player that doesn't have form here or there is what costs you that title run. You know,
Yeah.
if you go into the season and you are top four ish, chances are you ain't going to make it. You're going to finish sixth or seventh. And that's why I think, for Tottenham's sake, it's time for them to blow it up
Yeah.
and to start going after younger, talented players, the Pedro Porros of the world, and then to bring in a young manager like a Nagelsmann
Nagelsmann. Yeah. Someone who's
and
not
say,
not at the top of their game or going on the way out, but like hungry enough, like, hey, I'm still in learning mode, but I want to grow along the trajectory of this team. I want to grow with this team as we
that's
get
right.
better, like Pochettino did for a while.
That's right. And someone like a Nagelsmann, he has his way of playing. And when you blow up the team, you can bring in younger players that can adapt to his style of play. And all of a sudden, you have 11, 12, 15 players all playing the same style and all have talents that match the style that manager wants to play,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
he's had an opportunity to coach and train those players to develop skills that benefit that method of playing. When you chop and change managers and buy ready-made players, you're going to run into situations where the skills of the players just don't fit what the manager wants to do, because a 30-year-old player ain't changing.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
he is who he is.
Yep.
And if the manager wants him to do something that he can't do, tough shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Where where a 21-year-old can develop, and when you finish eighth, the pressure is not there on the 21-year-old, so he can try shit. He can do things without it costing his team top four. He can
Yeah.
do things without the pressure cooker cauldron looking right behind him. And you know, if Tottenham wants to win something, I think that's the way. And speaking of Tottenham win something, so I think the biggest mistake that Conte made, and maybe it wasn't Conte, maybe it was Levy, maybe it was Scalini, don't know who's responsible, but when you didn't start Harry Kane at Oxford and you went out of, I'm sorry,
Sheffield
Sheffield
United.
United, my fault. When you went out of the FA Cup, I think that is when the fans really turned on Conte
Yeah.
and really turned on Tottenham. And I don't think Conte saw that coming. I don't think Daniel Levy saw that coming. but the Conte outs and the Levy outs really ramped up after that defeat.
Yeah, because it was a number of things. Yeah, that was one of the reasons we were out of the cup when we knew we were not going to win the Champions League. And, poor football, leaving Kane out, there were strategic issues there. It's kind of like the last straw. And you're right. This should be the season where we just blow it up. Right now is the time to do that. Right?
That's right.
It's like most things in life. If you're dropping but you don't hit rock bottom, that's even worse, right? Because you stay here then, and there's no growth, no progress, right? Most people, when you hear about success stories and whatever, they've hit rock bottom and they've been like, shit, there's nowhere else for me to go here.
Well, that's right.
Right. So Tottenham needs to do that same thing. And, the rock bottom does continue, right? Because even today, there's rumors today now that Paratici, who just the other day, Levy put a statement out saying how integral Paratici is in the team and everything else. Looks like now that ban that he got from Italian football is now going to be extended worldwide. So that's another issue then for Levy to figure out,
Perfect time to blow it up.
Absolutely.
And this is another thing too. The place that you start is in scouting and recruitment.
Always.
And when Edu came in, right at COVID time, he used, whoops. I didn't mean that.
You said Arsenal and then it started again.
Don't ask me where that came from. I certainly didn't mean it for Edu because we want to keep him around
here,
for a
folks,
while.
And it's real. You're talking to real people. We're not artificial. This is artificial intelligence, We're real.
So Edo used, our recruitment under the Arsene Wenger and really under Solani wasn't the best. It was really poor. And I think you can attribute that to bad scouting and not knowing how to use data analysis in order to create good buys and do good buys. And Edu used COVID to say, we're getting rid of all of our scouts. And he did. He got literally rid of everybody right when he took over. And then he slowly added back pieces. And he said that they're going to make scouting more of a centrally controlled activity as opposed to a bunch of individual scouts all out in the various countries.
Well, that makes sense, right?
It does. And whatever he did worked because Arsenal has been, probably the best thing that they have done is to identify young players that can fill a specific role under Arteta.
Yeah. Now,
and I think that's the first thing Tottenham needs to do. Because you bought dead Spence,
right?
I mean,
And I think with Jed Spence, Cal, and we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, right? We read what we read and we hear what we hear, and you can only make the assumption, right, that Levy thought there's some merit to it. Like, okay, this kid's 21, it's pretty damn good. If I can get him for 12 million. There's probably a resale here of 40 down the road. Right? So anyone in business is not going to overlook that. I don't care who you are, right? That's a business move. Now, when you have somebody like a Conte at the helm, he's just going to piss and moan about that. Whereas you might have some managers who would just be like, yeah, fair enough. I'm not just going to say anything about it, but I'm not going to play him. I'm going to send him out on loan. Conte made a point of it in public, which threw gas on the fire, basically, when he didn't have to, right? That was, when you look back, you could think, okay, that was Conte paving the way for what he knew was coming anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he could point back to, and he's done that in subsequent conferences. That
Mm-hmm.
was a club buy, it wasn't my buy. So
Mm-hmm.
what? Okay. It wasn't your buy. I get that. But you've still got enough of a squad to live without Jed Spence, even though he's a good player. You didn't
Ah,
have to you didn't have to make a bigger deal about it as it was. You know what I mean?
ah, I don't know he's a good player, and I will come on this podcast and eat my hat if Tottenham ever smell 40 million for Jed Spence.
Okay, now
And
we have that, and I will send this hat for consumption, for on air consumption 3 years from now.
that's right. Yeah, I'm
Anyway,
not seeing that.
moving forward, we've got 10 games to go. Shall we talk about those games?
Yeah, yeah. So enough of the Tottenham talk. So what we're going to talk about is the run in. We're going to talk about key games. Talk about the points that Arsenal will need to win the league. We'll talk about the points that Tottenham are going to need to finish fourth. We're going to look at our predictions for where each of those teams will finish and kind of place a top six or top seven for the league. We'll look at each of Arsenal's and Tottenham's areas for improvement and issues. And then we're going to do a quick international duty and how our international players played. Round up at the end, and then we'll call it a show. How does that sound, Rick?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All righty. So, interestingly enough, Arsenal and Tottenham only have 10 games left, where about everybody else that's vying for top four has 11, 12 games left.
Yeah.
So, that kind of changes the picture a little bit. How do you see the first few games playing out for Tottenham? And how do you think Tottenham is going to respond to Conte being gone and a new manager coming in?
Um, I thought about this, and I don't know that we're going to get that new manager bounce because it's Stellini, right? So it's still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you
It's
mean, and
really hard, Cal. It's really hard.
those are my thoughts too.
It's like, are the players still like, yeah, whatever. Let's just get like, because if that's where they are, even though they're in fourth,
Mm-hmm.
if they're just like, let's just get this season over with, it's been a pain in the ass, then we
Mm-hmm.
could end up eighth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or whatever. But if they want to come out and play for a bit of pride and just play some football,
Mm-hmm.
um, could be different. I mean, I'd like to think that collectively they'll get together and go, it's 10 games. Look, we want to finish fourth if we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. You got to have some goal. Let's make four the goal. And if not, the Europa League is the default. Drop that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
In the last press conference that Conte held, he laid it squarely at the feet of the players.
yeah.
So, what this run in is going to tell us is, was he right or was he wrong?
Yeah. And look, part of this makes sense, right? You've got Stellini, the players like him. When Conte's been absent, Stellini's got, a 4 out of 5 win rate record, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, against top clubs too, Man City and what have you. It was a good little run he had.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Ryan Mason, who the players like. I don't know that. Again, we can only make assumptions. I don't know if that's a big deal for the players at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that it is incumbent on the players to say, we've been called selfish. Let's shove it up Conte's butt for the next 10 games.
Well, that's right. I mean, this is going to be a player-led 10-game run.
Sure.
Conte, the big star manager, is gone. This is squarely on the players, and Tottenham is a older club. incredibly experienced club. When you look around the league, Tottenham may be the most experienced
Yeah,
club.
yeah, we've
I
got
mean,
players there 10 plus years.
yeah, Tottenham has probably as many or more players that have been to the Champions League final or been to the Champions League quarters as any team in the league, including Man City. So, the experience for Tottenham is there.
Yeah.
So, will the players band together and show leadership and ownership during this 10-game run? Or will they, as you mentioned, say, let's get this season over?
Yeah. Well, we'll
Time
see
for our
Monday
people.
night. But first game up is not going to be easy. It's Everton, right? Even
Let me,
though, because I mean, you guys trounced them at the beginning of the month 4-0.
we trounced them at home, but we caught them coming off an international break
Yeah.
at Goodison Park. And let me tell you, I think I remember reading that no team ran as much in a game this year as Everton
That's
ran
right.
in that game
That's
against
right.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and to be honest, I think that's what y'all are in for. Tottenham had people go for international duty. Everton, they've been sitting home getting the Sam Dyche hair dryer treatment for
There's
2 weeks.
there's no doubt in the dressing room that Sam Dyche is going to be, listen, lads, we're coming off an international break, right? We're coming off an international break, and
That's
it's
right.
Tottenham. It's
That's
Tottenham.
right.
They've been kicked to shit for the last month. The boss is gone, right? I mean, seriously, I think most teams
That's
will be looking at us
exactly what
and
he's doing.
thinking, "Hey, these guys are in it. They've been kicked in the nuts. Let's take advantage of that."
Well, he's going to say, let's put it up them and see how they respond.
Sure, for sure.
I mean, of any game coming out of the international break, playing Everton at Goodison Park is the least favorable matchup
Well, their
that there
last
can
four
be.
games, they've drawn two. Last game they drew against Chelsea 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you guys beat them, and they won one game. I think they beat Brentford 1-0. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not too shabby. I mean, that's in the month of March, right?
Right. Right.
Um, I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be an easy game. It's a Monday night, and it's in Liverpool.
Shit.
Um,
Oh man, it's going to be a hard game. It's going to be so physical,
yeah,
so physical.
yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how Tottenham stands up to that physicality when, last year, that's what made Tottenham, the third place team
Yeah.
is that they, or fourth place team, they handled that physicality and they were the aggressors in most
Well,
encounters.
I've got this down, as we always say, right, in football, every game's important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this one is because of the reasons you mentioned, right? The international break, but everything that's gone on at Tottenham, right?
Mm-hmm.
The spotlight's going to be on them, and it's the start. We can't afford to lose this game with everybody else having games in hand,
That's right.
right? Because
That's
everyone
right.
else is going to start. They're going to start salivating if we lose this game.
Oh, no question.
So, in addition to that, we need to win this game as a show of intent to the fans mainly. Screw
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. To the fans, to us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Go to Goodison, win the game, win it well, and make a show of intent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we go there and play like we've played in the past and get beat, it'll just be doom and gloom.
Well, that's right.
And
Yeah.
everybody else coming up after that, Brighton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, they're all going to be like, yeah, this is going to be an easy touch for us.
Well, that's right. I mean, you guys have a really difficult run of fixtures.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. I mean, you've got Everton. I mean, had you played Everton in the last game before the break, I think you smash them. But getting them first game after the break, then you've got Brighton,
Yep.
Bournemouth at home you'll handle, but then you're at Newcastle, Man United at home, and at Liverpool.
Yeah, those 3 fixtures on the spin right there.
I mean, that's your season.
Yeah. Look, Brighton, what a season they're having.
That's exactly right.
Right, and that they will be shooting for a spot in Europe.
Oh, and all about it. And they've got 2 games in hand.
Yeah. So Everton and Brighton back to back almost within 5 days.
Yeah.
Well,
That,
you got to
that
do it. You got to put the shift in, man. It's got to be done.
that is a fact. And Bournemouth, while I certainly think y'all will beat them, it's no cakewalk because you want to play you want to be playing teams like Crystal Palace, who are kind of away from the relegation zone, or Fulham,
Yeah,
away enough of the relegation zone.
they've
When
got their
you play
swimming
those,
trunks on already. You know what I mean?
yeah, when you're playing Bournemouth, who is going to fight tooth and nail for 1 point, that's going to be a tough game,
Yeah.
even though they aren't as good.
Yeah, Newcastle, that trio of games, Newcastle, Man U, and Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said to me the other day, I can't remember who it was, a friend of mine said, yeah, but Liverpool have had a poor season. I said, yeah, like the game against Man United, right? So
that's
if that Liverpool turns up,
that's right.
I mean, there's no easy fixtures here, really, other than, like you say, yeah, if we've got the Crystal Palaces of the world who are like virtually safe,
That's right.
because
Once you get past those 3 fixtures, you've got Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, and Brentford, who all 3 by that time are going to know they're in the league
yeah,
and are going to be playing for fun. And then you finish at Leeds, and Leeds by that time will
we'll be
probably
fighting.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they may know their fate by that time. They may
possibly,
know
yeah. And
they
if
may know if
that
they're
would
in
be a
or out.
favour for us,
That's
but
right.
if they're in with a fighting chance, you can guarantee that if we get
That's
to
right.
that game, you can see the Tottenham players raising their eyebrows, going, "Oh God, if Leeds have got half a chance to get to the next round to
At
stay."
Leeds, against Tottenham, that would be a tasty fixture if they've got to win to stay in the league.
Yeah. So look, 10 hard games. I mean, they're just going to be just with everything that's going on at Tottenham, but it's up to Tottenham. Like I said, it starts at Everton on a Monday night,
Mm-hmm.
and the players need to show some intent. I mean, they really do. After what Conte said about them and everything, it's to get out there, win, and then have Harry Kane interviewing afterwards saying, "We wanted to show the fans what we're really made of." Something
Yeah,
like that.
you
Really,
are that's what Tottenham's got to have
not the
in order to
usual.
finish top 4. That's what
Yeah,
Tottenham's got to have.
not if it's a tight game or we lose 1-0 to have him or someone out there saying, "Well, it's a tight game. It's never easy up here in Liverpool on a Monday night." The fans would be like, "Don't care.
That is a fact.
You should be winning."
That that is a fact. Jonas Endeval, who coaches the Arsenal women's team, um, and had an interesting quote where he said, players have to choose between excuses and results.
Yeah,
And I thought that was interesting. That's exactly what they have to do. They have to make that choice. Um, and Tottenham's going to have to make that choice to fight for those results because it's
well,
going to take a fight.
think about it, right? Though, I mean, when you're looking at that motivation for the last 10 games, this really is an intrinsic question, kind of like if you're a player, a highly paid athlete, right?
Hmm.
You know, who, if at the end of these 10 games we finish eighth, you still have a 10-room mansion in Cheshire or
Uh
wherever,
huh. Hmm.
plus the villa in Miami, right? Plus the string of cars. You see what I'm saying?
The yacht in Ibiza.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that in the summer. Yeah. Um, do you know what I mean, though?
I know exactly what you
You,
mean.
you have to find that motivation because that only comes from within, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
and Alex Ferguson said this was a dilemma for him in the early days. You
Hmm.
know, when he said, when he first started coaching, he said players were jumping off the bus for training at the ground.
Hmm.
Now he
Hmm.
said they're all pulling up in like £400,000 cars
Right.
at the age of 19.
Right. Right.
Right. So how do you motivate yourself to do that? I mean, because it's such a world away from us. I mean, if I won $1 million on in the lottery, my ass is not at work tomorrow. Period.
Well, that's right. And
Right.
I
So
get
what about these guys who make 200 grand a week? Then win or lose?
right. And that again is one of the challenges of having an older, experienced team. You know, when you have the young guys that are still on 30 grand a week, that's a lot of money,
Well, yeah.
but they are still motivated. They're like, that 200 grand a week contract is out there for me. You
Mhm.
know, I have to produce and chase that contract. But
Yep.
the player that already is on that contract, you know, when it comes crunch time for the season and they have to shed that blood and they have to stick that foot in the challenge, you know, for fourth, not for the trophy, do they do that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key thing.
Uh,
So I don't know. 10 games. Um, every one of them is going to be interesting. Um,
that's for sure.
yeah,
Uh,
really, they really are. And I don't think we're done with any controversy yet. I think there's more to come.
oh,
Plenty more to come.
Absolutely. We'll flip over to Arsenal for a moment. So Arsenal come back against Leeds at home, and I think that could really be a trap game for us. In that, right after that, we go to Liverpool. Um,
Yeah.
so it would be easy for the players coming off of international break to be thinking more about the Liverpool game than they are the Leeds game. And Mikel Arteta's really his challenge is going to be to get them to focus on Leeds because most of the players aren't going to be back until tomorrow.
Yeah.
So some came in today, some will be back tomorrow, but that's really only a day or two to get ready for that game. So that's really going to be a challenge for him is to have them mentally ready to put in the shift to beat Leeds because, Leeds isn't that good. But at the same point in time, they're going to be highly motivated and they're going to be ready to play.
Yeah. I can see why, like you're saying, that a lot of the players will be thinking about Liverpool because Liverpool's always been a tricky team for Arsenal.
Oh, no question. And especially going to Anfield.
Yeah.
That's been a tricky place. So, Arsenal has kind of been on the we're going to put it right kick. And that's one of the things that they need to put right is to beat Liverpool in Anfield. So, they don't have to put right beating Leeds in the Emirates.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons that it's kind of a trap game for Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see how Arteta is able to get them motivated and ready to play that game. And that's going to be a good indication for the run in. Is Arsenal really going to play 10 separate finals? Or are they already kind of looking forward a little bit to the prize at the end of the sprint?
Well, the three that I have that I think will be tricky for you guys. Well, Liverpool is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Southampton and Brighton.
Yeah. Fortunately, both of those are at the Emirates.
Yeah, I know, but I still think, and not Southampton because of what they did to us. I just think
Huh?
they. Well, again, they're another team that you guys have
Yeah.
um,
And
some trouble with too, right?
I think we had a draw against them earlier this year.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
you're exactly right.
and Brighton would be another one of those teams that have caused problems.
Sure.
Last season they did back to back in North London. You
That's
know,
right.
but
That's right.
again, Brian. I mean, De Zerbi, the coach, has been linked with Tottenham now because he's playing great
Mhm.
football there, right?
Oh,
He's going to be playing,
fantastic football.
and they're going to be looking for that spot in Europe. The same reason I rated them as being a problem for us in
Hmm.
the next game after Everton.
Uh-huh. Well, another reason Southampton could be a challenge is exactly what we talked about with Leeds, is that we go to Man City, we play at the Etihad right after playing Southampton at home. And it's going to be really difficult for Arsenal to be focused on the Southampton game when, again, they're on the Put It Right tour. And Man City has been a huge bogey team for Arsenal. I can't remember the last time we beat them. Or I think we beat them in the FA Cup um, in Arteta's first year. But, we did that playing Aubameyang up front and playing kick and chase in a 3-4-3.
Yeah.
So we're playing totally different. Hardly anybody on this team was on that team. So it'll be easy for Arsenal to overlook Man City, too. For Arsenal fans, I think you'll have to look at Sunday, April 16th as an important game because that could be St. Tottenham Day.
Oh,
How
that doesn't count anymore. No, Cal, no.
How long has it been
Yeah,
since
that doesn't
Arsenal
work
finished in
anymore,
front
pal.
of Tottenham?
No freaking way.
Because
That thing is dead.
because
St. Tottenham Day is gone. That you cannot resurrect that, man. No
because
way.
but based on my predictions, Arsenal will be 22 points in front with
Yeah,
7 games to play.
yeah. There is no more St. Tottenham Day. I refuse.
So, all Arsenal fans, mark your calendar, Sunday, April 16th, and make reservations at your favorite pub because that will be a day to celebrate.
Well, I will explain why in my little sum up of Arsenal why I think St. Tottenham Day is no more.
Please go ahead.
But
Oh,
no,
jump
I
in
think
there.
you're right. You've got 10 tough games too. Like I said, Liverpool, Southampton, Brighton, I think are going to give you some issues. You might even throw Newcastle in there too, depending on
Sure.
where they are.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
Another thing we've got to put right, though. So, Arteta will definitely have them motivated at Tyneside because of the way our season ended last year. And I think that the feeling that those players had in the dressing room after getting absolutely smashed 3-0 is one of the things that has fueled this team to have the season that they're having. So I think that's a game that Arteta and the rest of the team will have circled.
yeah, but I think my prediction for Arsenal is second. I think City will peg you back because of those games. I think that we just mentioned. I think you'll drop points there, and City's class will show through because I think you guys, there's no doubt about it, you've played wonderful football this year, really good football, but you've punched above your weight a little bit this year, right? Um,
Sure.
you've gone, your last 4 seasons, was it fifth, eighth, and fifth, right? So definitely punched above the weight this season, which is why I think you're going to finish second, right? It's like, you know, um, City's class, I think, are going to show through. Um, and obviously, I don't want you to win the league. That's another reason, right?
uh,
But I think City will peg you back. I think you'll drop points on the run-in, and City will just peg you back. No doubt. At the end of it, you guys will have a great season to look back on. I think, like you said last week, Cal. Whatever happens, you guys can enjoy it. Watch the highlight reels, guys. It's going to be great.
it's as the title of one of our episodes was, a season to enjoy. I have Man City only dropping points in one game, and that's at Everton,
Yeah,
because I think they'll overlook them.
yeah.
But Arsenal
Possibly.
have enough of a lead
I know.
that I
Yeah,
still have us winning the league.
yeah.
I have us with 94 points finishing the league, and I have Man City with 92.
Yeah.
And should um, and should Arsenal win the league with 94 points, that would be the most points Arsenal's ever had. And you would have to put this team in the conversation for best ever Arsenal team. And I know a lot of people will talk about the Invincibles, and of course, we can't touch that team.
Well, they all had
But
dinner last night.
but
Did you have you
say
seen the
what?
postings? They all had dinner last night.
No, I haven't.
The Invincible team. And Righty was there, Henri, they all were out having dinner.
Nice. Well, what a great team that was. But you would certainly have to put this team right there with them. And I think, interestingly enough, this team draws some parallels with the '89 team, who kind of came out of nowhere to win the league. But one interesting comparison with this team and that team is that team won 23 games, and this team has won. No, I take it back. I think that team won 23 games, 69 points, or a little more than 69 points. But this team almost has as many wins now as that team did in their title the whole season.
It's funny how you someone can mention something and you get transported back in time.
Yeah.
So I remember that game was shown live on TV in 1989, right?
Uh-huh.
And I remember being in a pub, go figure, watching that game with a few of my Tottenham mates, and there was a few Arsenal guys in there. One of them was a family of Arsenal supporters in there. And I remember watching it, and I remember Davis scoring that goal because Rocastle played for him at the time.
Yeah, Rocastle, yeah.
And I remember Davis scoring that goal and just
what a goal!
Just could not believe it. It was and I still see myself sitting there at the bar watching it now, and was just devastated.
Yeah,
just like it was freaking horrible.
Yeah. Of course, being in the U.S., I've only seen highlights of it, but I can't imagine a more exciting finish to the season. And let's hope, because the way that I've got the season playing out, Arsenal is going to have 3 points at the Emirates against Wolves in order to win the league. So, how exciting would that be to win the last game of the season at the Emirates to be champions? Be amazing. Where have you got Tottenham finishing? Oh God, it'd be incredible. Where have you got Tottenham finishing?
I'm going to take. I've got us going fourth, right?
Okay,
because that's where I want us, obviously, and I think we can do it. I've got us getting at least 25 points out of the 33 available.
Wow.
What I can't control, obviously, are the games in hand, right?
Right.
Got no control over those, right? That would put us at 74 points, which is doable.
Oh, if you get 74 points, you're golden.
Yeah.
If you get 71 points, I think you're golden.
Right. And I was just about to say that 74 gives us wiggle room, right?
Mm-hmm.
If my prediction goes wrong and there's a few games left, okay, I've still got some wiggle room here. If I can we can get into the 70s. You know what I mean? It'll get us there. Again, Cal, it's really going to come back to those first couple of games. Again, starting on Monday night, there has to be a show of intent. I really can't emphasize it anymore. If these guys go out again and they play like we have played, where they're boring football in the first half and then get beat or go 1-0 down or something, it's going to be, it will be terrible. It really will. It will be terrible. So we need a good start. Those first 2 or 3 games, you can't lose them. You just can't lose them.
I've only got you losing 2 games at Liverpool and at Aston Villa, but I have you with several draws in there. So I'm looking at it. I'm seeing you finishing with only 16 points to be 65 for the year. And interestingly enough, I've got you tied for 5th with Newcastle and Brighton. All three on 65 points, which I thought was kind of crazy. But I've got Man U finishing third on 70 and Liverpool finishing fourth on 69.
Yeah. Be interesting.
Yeah. So that's going to be.
Liverpool is the obvious, not so dark horse anymore.
Well, that's right.
You know,
it looked to me like they're getting a little healthy. They're, you'll know about them right off the bat. They're playing at Man City and at Chelsea when they get back.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they play us at home and y'all at home. And that's pretty much it. They're playing bottom dwellers.
I think for Tottenham, Stellini's in there giving his pre-game speech. It's like we are sitting in fourth right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us. This is our final. This is it. It's ours to lose that position.
That's exactly right.
Keep winning, and we stay there.
That's right. That's right.
What else to tell you, boys? That's it.
That's right. Well, if you're going to do it, what areas do you need to improve and play better in for this 10-game stretch?
Well, the first one is plainly obvious to me. It's consistency.
Mm-hmm.
If the Tottenham that's been hanging around all season turns up for the final 10 games, then we do not finish fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
You're right.
If you turn up like you played against Man City, against Everton, great. Maybe it will be 5-0 if we turn up, if that's how we play.
Mm-hmm.
But if we turn up as the team that turned up against Southampton, then we lose 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can't have that inconsistency on the running.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that has to change. There has to be some form of consistent play, period.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is our defense. We've scored the third most goals in the league, but we've already conceded 40 goals.
Right.
That's that's ridiculous.
Right.
So you don't have 10 games to sort the defense out. You have to start it Monday night.
Oh, for sure.
Period.
Because Everton's going to be hard to score against.
Yeah. You can't be letting them in.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, God, it's mind-boggling. We conceded 5 goals in 11 games on the run-in last year.
Mm-hmm.
And scored, I don't know what 20 odd.
Right.
I don't know where that team went.
And it's the same players, especially in defense.
Same players, man. So yeah, we those two areas, consistency and the defense. I mean, because we have no problem scoring.
Mm-hmm.
The scoring's okay. The only other thing possibly is consistency and the defense. Maybe midfield. We don't have Bentancur. Skip's done great.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll always have that issue, which we've had in a lot of games, where we're going to get overrun in midfield.
Right.
Because we have 2 players there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So that remains an issue if we set up the same way on this run-in count.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because Højbjerg, I mean, the dude is like the ever-ready bunny, but I don't know how long he's going to keep doing that. Because
that's right.
I mean, he's just a workhorse, man. But you can only do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think he was entitled to. He was one of the first to break the ranks after Conte's thing and say he needs to elaborate who he was talking about.
Right.
I think someone like him and Romero and Kane would have every right to say, "There's no way you're talking about me, mate."
Well, and he's the type that would take it personal.
Yeah,
which is the kind of player you want.
Yeah. So I would say those 3 areas, right? Defense, consistency, possibly the midfield. If we continue to get overrun in that build, we've done good in some games.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few games, but there are games where we just get overrun.
Mm-hmm.
So Those three
Yeah.
areas, really. And remains to be seen. Having an interim manager, how's that going to affect us?
Hmm.
Don't know. Don't know.
Well, what that does is that puts, again, we've talked about it. It puts it on the players.
Yeah, it's on the players. Yeah,
Yeah, it's 100% on the players. For
get it done.
Arsenal, I think that the thing to look for Arsenal is, are they still attacking? Because when when you have a lead and you get a little nervous and you're not focused on what you're trying to do, your natural inclination is to protect.
Yeah,
And I think Arsenal cannot get in that mindset. Arsenal have to continue to attack. It's the goal scoring, like we talked about in the last episode, that has really been the differentiator for Arsenal this year. And they have to continue to attack and play with the same, I don't know, freeness, lightness, confidence that they've played with all year. Because as soon as you get tight, you start, instead of kicking that pass out, one touching it, you take that second touch.
yep,
And that's what we're going to be looking for Arsenal. Well, will they still flow? Will they still run? Will they still attack? Or are they going to become a little more defensive? Now, I know Arteta's going to be saying attack, 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 but it'll be interesting to see where the players are mentally in, according to that. The second aspect for Arsenal to look out for is going to be injuries. You know, we cannot lose Thomas Partey. If we lose Thomas Partey, we are going to finish second. And he did not play in the second international fixture that Ghana
yeah,
had.
yeah.
Um, we sent one of our physios with him on international duty, which is extremely unusual
Right.
for a club to do. So obviously there were some concerns there. Interestingly enough, I forget the man, Chris Naughton. That's right, is the manager for, I think, Angola is who we played, an old ex Tottenham
Chris Hughton.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chris
yeah,
Hughton. That's it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. So I figured for sure he was going to have Thomas Partey trying to play 3 games that week, but apparently he agreed with the Arsenal physios and didn't force Thomas Partey into that second game. So I think that's really going to be the two things to look for Arsenal. Do we play freely and confidently as we've been playing, and can we avoid um, a killer injury? And we're going to need Saliba. Saliba missed the last game, and he didn't go away on international duty for France. We may not need him against Leeds, but we're certainly going to need him for the run-in. So can Saliba get back in the side and get healthy? I think those are going to be the main issues for Arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
All right. You want to talk about how your Tottenham guys did on international duty?
Yeah, I mean, I really focus on two of them, really. I mean, and this could be one of the issues, actually, that we just spoke about. Sonny scored a couple of goals. I mean, it looked like he was played really well for South Korea, who are now managed by an ex-Tottenham player now,
Ah,
um,
nice.
Jurgen Klinsmann.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that's right. Hey,
Yeah,
so I came across something interesting on Son. So this comes from Twitter from Sharky at Belgian Hotspur, Belgian_Hotspur. And he noticed that Son is a lot more productive without Perisic in the lineup. So this year, Son has played 1,555 minutes with Perisic in the lineup, and he has 1 goal and 1 assist. He's played 925 minutes without Perisic in the lineup and has 7 goals and 2 assists.
yeah,
So I thought that was interesting, and I wonder why Perisic kind of infringes a little bit on Son's production.
It could be. Could be. Possession wise,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
not getting as much of the ball if Perisic is around.
Right.
Certainly, from a production standpoint, Tottenham look more to Perisic for service into the box
Mm-hmm.
than Sonny. So he'll see a lot more of the ball than Sonny will because of
Do
that.
they are they are
Sonny
they
doesn't want
playing?
to take. Sonny doesn't want to take the ball. Perisic wants to pick up the ball and go down the flank, right, and get it
Right.
over. Sonny don't want to do that. Sonny wants to get the ball and then he wants direct route to the goal. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. So they're pretty much on the same side, correct?
For the most part, yeah. So
And,
Perisic will switch because he's
right.
2-footed, right? But
Right.
for the most part, he's on the left.
I wonder if it also has to do with Perisic on the field. Son has to pay more attention to his defensive duties, and he can't start his move as high.
Yeah, and he's not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, no, good points. Yeah, good points.
What else you got?
But with Sonny though, if he's scoring, just a quick kind of going back, that would be part of the issues too. He needs to start scoring as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. For
Even
sure.
though we're not having the issue of scoring, he still needs to up his game.
Well,
You know
that's
what I
right.
mean? On the running. Really, the big standout, obviously, in the international break was Harry Kane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the record and all that fun stuff. Became England's biggest all-time record goal scorer. I think he finished at 54. He got a penalty against Italy, who we beat last week, and then he scored from open play against Ukraine.
Yeah, I believe that assist come from Bukayo Saka.
Saka scored a brilliant goal.
Yeah, he did. Didn't he also assist on Kane's goal as
Yeah, I
well?
think so. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't mind Saka when he's got an England shirt on. It's fine. When he's got that other red and white one on, I don't like. But that was the big standout, really. There was others, but
Uh-huh.
really, Kane overshadowed it all, and rightly so. I mean, that's a
Uh-huh.
big deal. Not only did he take Wayne Rooney's record, but I think he's done it in like 39 games quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that when you break a record at international level, any level, right? Whatever athletes sport you're in, but when you do it in football, credits due because you don't play many international games,
Well, that's for sure.
right? So well, not as many as you do obviously at the club level. We do have more friendly games and what have you, but
Mm-hmm.
you've still got to be fit. You've still got to play in those games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
yeah, credit to him. Yeah,
That's right. For Arsenal, obviously, we just mentioned Bukayo Saka had
yeah,
two
great
fantastic
goal.
games, two really good games, and scored a great goal
Yeah,
for England. Interestingly enough, there were rumors after the game that Zinchenko had told any of his Ukraine teammates that if they injured Saka, they were going to have to answer to him. And
yeah.
it was funny seeing the Ukrainians pick Saka up after every time they knocked him down.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, did you see the Rodri challenges?
In the Scottish game.
Not just the Scotland game, in the not Denmark, the Norway game as well. I mean, he tried to injure Odegaard and he tried to injure Tierney. I mean, what the hell? I
Yeah,
mean, he slid studs up into Odegaard in the penalty area and didn't even get a foul called.
which is funny, right? Because
No, it wasn't funny.
what I mean is that they played Scotland and they lost 2-0. And Rodri did nothing but moan after the game, saying, "This is rubbish football. This isn't how you play football." They were physical. They were just defending. And like, wait a minute. You were kicking everybody in sight the other night.
That's a fact. And he did the same thing on Tierney. I have to think he knew exactly what he's doing. I mean, the challenge on Odegaard, if you haven't seen it, Google it and look at it. they're up 3-0.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're up 3-0 and he's going in, studs up. I mean, it's a red card. And how in the world the referee did not call it is beyond me. And he booked Odegaard for protesting. I mean, that's just more Arsenal,
Yeah.
And I expect to see, and I hope and I don't see more of that on the 10-game run in, but certainly would expect to. Matt Turner had 2 pretty decent games in goal, both wins for the U.S. as they move into the Nations League semis. And that's pretty much it from our international players too.
Yeah, back to the real football.
All right, so we can't wait. I think there's a game on Friday that we're really looking forward to. What day does Tottenham play?
Monday night.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tottenham's playing Monday. Arsenal's playing Saturday. Really looking forward to it. Hey, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, review, and rate us. Helps us get up in the searches. You can follow Rick on the Twitter machine at AFT Podcast 1, and you can follow me at ATF Podcast 2. Rick, you want to plug your website?
Yeah, check us out at the website. All the podcasts are uploaded there. We've got some blogs, Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.com, and look out for my posts and reels and stories on Instagram at Arsenal Tottenham Fan Podcast.
Hey, here we go to the run in. Come on, you Gunners.
Come on, Spurs. You got it. Let's do it.